question. My name's Caitlin. Nice
Hi,
to meet
Caitlin.
you. My question is, clearly you're an advocate for the arts, and you have you were talking about your blog, but where does technology come into this? Why is it so important to you to have it in the classroom?
Um, I the model that we have traditionally in education has been around for a lot of years, and the world's a very different place. And as a teacher, I was very aware that the changes over that 30-year time when I was in the classroom, at times the changes in kids and where they were coming from happened more rapidly than other times. And when technology became a commonplace in kids' worlds outside of school, we began to change slowly in the classroom. And with 21st century skills, creative thinking, higher level thinking skills, those are all so very crucial. I had the opportunity to do a Fulbright program to Japan, that was 10 years ago. And when I was there, the Japanese government was paying to have teachers come from America. And the reason that they were doing this program is because they wanted to learn about what we were doing and how we were doing it. They had the achievement piece in place, but at eighth grade, either a student was going on to high school to go on to college, or they were going on to high school to get a trade job, or they weren't going on to high school. And the suicide rate at that time in Japan, I don't know what it is now, but for teenagers was very high, and it had a lot to do with you're either in and successful or you're out on the streets. And it was shameful to the family to not be successful. So there were all kinds of ramifications with that. And the piece that they didn't have, and that they wanted to learn about what we were doing and how we were doing it, was teaching creativity. And today, when we talk about creativity, it's often attached to 21st century skills, and it's not in the traditional mode of when we talk about creativity, 20 years ago, it was strictly in line with what was happening in arts education. So I'm very conscious of kids coming into school and powering down because they're not engaged in their learning. And the number of dropouts in the country is very high. And when we look and see, ask those questions, why is it happening? It doesn't all of a sudden happen at grade 9 or 10, but it's what's been going on up until that point. And it's certainly not all the school's responsibility, but we need to work collaboratively with parents and community organizations, and that is addressing kids' needs and where they are. And if we're not incorporating technology somehow into what's going on in the classroom, then I believe that we're just going to lose more and more kids to being successful in school.
Yeah. Where's the balance between like technology and actual art making? We're all going to be art teachers, and this is a technology class for the arts, but where's that balance of actually making something with your hands?
That's a great question. And it's a question that often comes up in situations when I'm meeting with arts teachers. And what I found is that music teachers seem to, as a group, are able to address that a little bit. Not easier, but it seems to fit in a little bit more smoothly than it does in the art classroom. And I don't see that art making will be replaced by technology. I view it as a tool to utilize as an educational tool. And when we went one-to-one laptops at the middle school, what I saw happen is that the teacher moved away from being the disseminator of knowledge and more of a facilitator of learning. and kids were empowered because they could utilize the tool to incorporate into what they were doing. And one of the examples that I like to give is we did a unit with our 8th graders. It was the end of the 8th grade year, and it was an interdisciplinary unit with science and math and language arts and art. And what we did is we had purchased digital cameras, and we took the kids to Agawam, Massachusetts, to Seven Flags, and did a unit on physics, and the students studied the rides at the fair, at the Seven Flags, and the mechanisms and how they were created, and the math and the distance. I mean, they did all of those components that were connected to these rides at Seven Flags. And their assignment was to take a picture of something in the environment that contained an element or principle of art and design. And they brought those photographs back, and they downloaded them to their computers. And they were, at that time, we didn't have one-to-one, and the kids, we had computers on a cart. And so they were downloading their pictures and working 2 people on a laptop. And the conversation that took place, because they used those technology tools, were really deep conversations about their awareness and what they had observed there and what they had photographed and why they had photographed it. And so these really deep conversations were taking place around the photographs that they took. And we did, an intro to photography before they went on this trip. They then took those photographs and put them into a program that was similar to tessellation. I can't recall even what the program is called now. And they altered their photographs so they became abstract pictures. They printed those out on a transfer paper, and then they scanned their hands, and we were talking about negative and positive spaces. They then used photograph elements. It was, like I said, years ago, but it was an elements program. And they removed the negative spaces between their fingers, and then superimposed their hand onto the photograph they had taken. This was actually before they printed out the photo. And then they printed this out, so it was a part of them and a part of what they had observed and a part of them altering that observation. And they were on 6-by-6-inch squares, and then they did they ironed them onto a piece of muslin, and then they wrote a short poem, a haiku. They were studying cinquains and haikus, and they wrote that poem onto their hand, onto the 6-by-6 square. And then they were attached to a large piece of fabric, and a banner was created. And then they also printed them on T-shirts for themselves, and it was their gift to the school, and it was an expression of who they were at the end of their 8th grade year and kind of a reflection on their 2 years in middle school. Well, I mean, we used a lot of technology tools to create that, but they could not have done that without utilizing all of their art skills, and it was kind of a nice culmination of that, and also of this integrated work that they were doing and understanding of those other content areas. So I don't see that technology replaces it. I see that it's one more tool, and it's a way for us as educators to think about how to utilize it so it engages students.
Okay, wow. That sounds like quite a... How long did that take? It must have taken at least a month or two.
Actually, no, because of it being an interdisciplinary unit. So we would often throw out the schedule and work continuously all day on that kind of stuff. So it was over maybe a 2-week period or even less. It wasn't that long.